Many of our beliefs and self-image were created in our childhood. If we struggle with meeting new people and we don't enjoy social interactions, then it's likely that we're stuck in a vicious cycle of social anxiety that has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. In this video, I'll show you how we can begin to break free from this and have an easier time connecting with the people that we meet. Hey, I'm Neil and I struggled with social anxiety for more than 2 decades. On this channel, every week I'll be bringing you the best methods and strategies that I've used to feel more confident in my own life. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who is the author of Psycho-Cybernetics, said that all of your behaviours and actions are consistent with your self-image. What this means is that if you believe that you are inferior to other people and expect rejection, then you will begin to act in a more closed-off manner and make people that you're speaking with feel uneasy. If you expect rejection, you're more likely to hesitate, avoid speaking up, and to withdraw from social interactions. If we're expecting other people not to like us, then we're probably going to spend most of our energy while we're talking to them, looking for reasons that they don't actually want to be speaking with us. This might be things like any subtle body language hints that they want to get away from us. And when we're searching for these sorts of things, it's easy enough for us to find evidence for them. What we believe about ourselves will cause us to act in certain ways, and other people will respond to us based on this. They may not realise that we actually have social anxiety, so instead they'll just assume that we don't have any interest in continuing the conversation. We'll probably then take this as proof that we were right all along, and that indeed other people didn't want to speak to us after all, and then this just strengthens the already existing negative cycle that we have, and it creates this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy that creates this vicious cycle and keeps us trapped in social anxiety. What we believe about ourselves becomes our reality. Because we expect to feel anxious, then it means that our brain will constantly be on the lookout for situations that cause us to feel that way. If we live our lives telling ourselves that doing things like presentations or meeting new people, introducing ourselves to new people is something to be afraid of, then our brain will continue to keep making us feel like that. We can begin to break out of this cycle by doing the opposite and instead believing that people will actually like us. And by doing this, it will make us feel more relaxed and we'll end up having a more confident body posture. Doing this will make us feel more at ease when we are around other people, and even when things don't always go according to plan. And then our mind will start instead to search for reasons that people do like us rather than them actually disliking us. Our experiences will often mirror what we believe about ourselves back to us. So if we are expecting people to like us, then we're going to be more likely to be open, friendly, and to take the initiative. And then as a result of this, people are going to see us as someone that they like talking to, and they're probably going to want to invite us to go to other things and to look forward to speaking with us again. Of course, this is all easier said than done. So in order to actually start doing this, we need to learn to deal with things like negative self-talk. There are many ways to deal with the negative self-talk that keeps social anxiety going, but one of the most effective and the most backed by science is cognitive restructuring. First of all, realise that our brain is plastic, which means it has the ability to adapt and change throughout our lives, no matter how old we are. So this means that any negative thoughts that we have that keep going through our minds have the ability to be replaced with more rational, accurate thoughts. In a nutshell, the process goes like noticing any negative thoughts that you might be having, and you can even write these down in a journal or some kind of log if you want to do that, and then finally reframe the thoughts with something a bit more positive. If we keep telling ourselves that we hate to do certain events because they make us feel anxious, then our brain will believe this. It doesn't matter whether we're being rational or not. So when we come across these types of things in future, then we'll immediately feel this wave of anxiety pass over us. To begin changing our self-talk, we need to start using more conditional and neutral words rather than always going negative. So these can be using words like maybe, possibly, and could instead of the hates, the can'ts, and the nevers. Say for example we have an upcoming social event where we know we're going to be meeting with and maybe talking to a lot of new people. We need to stop telling ourselves that we hate the idea of doing this, because if we do, then we're just going to keep feeling more and more anxious, and it's just going to keep adding and adding to the cycle. It might not change things immediately by changing our self-talk, but it will at least stop us from getting any worse, and it will start making us go in the right direction. We can reframe these thoughts and say something like, I don't enjoy meeting new people, but maybe it's not as bad as I make it out to be. Or maybe I struggle with being the centre of attention, but perhaps the more I practice, then the better I'll be able to handle it. As we start to do this consistently, then we'll begin to interrupt the fire and wire connections in our brain that led to us experiencing a lot of social anxiety in the past. So every time that we challenge a thought, then we are physically changing the structure of our brain, and then eventually our emotions and our behaviours will follow along. Just bear in mind that changing our core beliefs is not an overnight process, and it takes quite a bit of time and effort, but the more you do it, then the more it will alter your outlook on the world. And I've made some other videos that go into more detail about how you can drill down to your core beliefs and change them. When actually dealing with social anxiety when we're in a social situation, I think that the principles laid out by Dr. Claire Weekes in her book Self-Help for Your Nerves are the best that I've ever found. So she outlines the process for anxiety disorders in general as facing, accepting, floating, and letting time pass. What this means is that we shouldn't avoid social situations because they cause us to feel anxious. Instead, we should face them, accept any anxiety that happens, and realise that these feelings are only temporary, and ultimately we shouldn't be fighting against social anxiety because it will only make it worse. When we're feeling anxious, if we try and push it away or we try to resist it, it's only going to make things worse. It's only going to cause there to be more adrenaline, more chemicals released into our body, and it's only going to increase the symptoms that we have learnt to fear. She says that we need to stop seeing anxiety as though it's some monster that's trying to possess us, and that it's much better for us to analyse these feelings as they occur and realise that they're just physical symptoms, that it's only anxiety that's trying to bluff you into feeling afraid. If we can instead allow ourselves to float through these physical symptoms instead, and to allow that initial wave of anxiety to wash over us as we continue on regardless, then eventually it will have to come down, and by doing this we'll be able to keep focusing, keep a much clearer mind, and we won't ever feel as though we're feeling so overwhelmed again. When we're feeling anxious, we need to slow down and not let muscle tension build up as it has done in the past. So this means trying to release any muscle tension we have in the muscle groups across our body, and to try and slow our rate of breathing down to around 5 to 6 breaths per minute. The final step is to realise that these things take time, and this doesn't happen overnight. So these physical symptoms, these feelings of anxiety that you've had for some time, even as you begin to accept them and learn how to deal with them in the present moment, as you face these situations that cause you to feel socially anxious, and as you learn to drop these safety behaviours, you'll still have these feelings for some time as they gradually come down, but realise that eventually you'll get to the point where one day you don't really notice them as much anymore, and you'll realise how much progress that you've made. If you'd like to take big steps towards overcoming social anxiety, I run weekly online group sessions where you can practice being confident in a safe environment and gradually ease your way out of your comfort zone. I'll put the link down in the description. If you want to watch more, then click here to check out my latest video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this content valuable, then please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.